Hello world. This is me. My name is Gabriel Baker, and I'm introducing a new YouTube series called the Metaverse Diaries. Don't know how often I'm going to update it, but I plan to do this pretty frequently. And we'll be diving into all things the metaverse, whether that's some new product out there, some new headline that I want to dive into about the metaverse. Obviously, it's a hot topic. So I invite you on this journey with me. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope it's provocative for anyone interested in this space, whether you're an enthusiast or a skeptic. I think you'll find some cool things here for you. And whether you're a total noob or someone who's been around the block with this metaverse stuff, I hope to have this be cool for either one. So a little bit about me before I dive into the topics for this week, which I'm super excited about. So as I said, my name is Gabriel Baker. I've been in this space for a little bit. I did my graduate research actually on teachers and students using the metaverse for distance education. So coming together online in a 3D environment to have online class. And maybe before I go much further, that this kind of ties into a little bit of how I define the metaverse. And I'm really not here to gatekeep the definition of the metaverse or really even to get into discussions about what the metaverse is or isn't. It's not really an interesting topic for me. And I think it's weird how some people get really hung up on like what it is or isn't, or the rules of the metaverse or what have you. But in any case, I, broadly speaking, am going to use this definition of people just a space where people can interact with each other in a 3D space, like very simply, very broadly, and very generally. And I know that'll apply to a lot of things, ranging from Fortnite to Decentraland to the 100 other products that are out there and hundreds other that come in each week. And I think that's okay. One of the things we'll talk about throughout this channel will be the metaverse generally, and I expect that my definition of it will evolve as I learn more about it and as more things kind of enter the space and as the conversations about it change. So back to what I was saying, I did my graduate research on teachers and students using the metaverse for online education. And then after that, I've been working in either education or technology companies. And most recently, I've landed at a company called Verbella, where I work on a product called Frame. Now, here's a look at Frame right now. I'm in our new resort environment, which is beautiful. But the purpose of this series, the Metaverse Diaries, is not going to be to cheerlead for Frame. And I hope call me out on it if you ever see me doing that. Now, when there's a big Frame update, will I talk about it for a bit and mention it for sure? But I'm a pretty reflective guy who knows when other products are better than Frame and for certain use cases, and I know where Frame's strengths are, but I'm never one to just talk about how good Frame is all the time. That's not really the purpose of this channel. I'm sure there are other places where you can find me doing that, but the Metaverse Diaries isn't it. But all that is to say, I'm really passionate about this topic because I work on it every day. I'm trying to build my own little corner of it with a really extraordinary team that's with me on the Frame team. But okay, sounds good. Let's actually, before I ramble too much more, dive into the topics for this day's Metaverse Diary. So the first one I want to get into, I think, is a Vox article that is getting into real estate has gone meta. So, and I'm actually in Decentraland here, where I'm cruising around, and I want to find this cool little plaza I was in before. It's kind of easy to get lost in Decentraland, but here we go. I'm back in. I found it. There we go. Oh. Okay. So the really jacked Shiba Inu avatar coming at me strong. Let me just hang out over here for a second. So this article is diving into real estate going meta. You can be a landlord in the metaverse, and it's talking about how there's a lot of hype right now around buying virtual real estate in various platforms. There's a very big sale of land in Decentraland. Looks like Token.com bought a really big piece of real estate for $2.5 million. Of course, this exchange would have been done in Mana. which is the cryptocurrency behind Decentraland. So when you buy land in Decentraland, you've got to use mana. Of course, you can exchange, real dollars, fiat currency, for mana. And once you've got it, you can use it inside of this virtual world. And even to really sign into Decentraland, you have to have a kind of a crypto identity, whether that's MetaMask or something like that. Really easy to sign up for. I just got my little Edge, like MetaMask, login going on. So people are wondering, is this trend going to continue? Like, people are investing in this virtual land because they think the value of it is going to rise. As more people start to use this land, perhaps they're going to end up reselling it to another brand that wants to build a shop on it. And this is confusing a lot of people because these are not actual, physical buildings. This is in virtual space. And the extent to which this virtual real estate is going to be like real estate is an interesting and provocative one. Right now, people are starting to spend quite a bit of money on virtual real estate. Now, it's a funny concept because in theory, there's no real scarcity of this land. By virtue of it being virtual, it's kind of a limitless resource, unlike actual physical space in the real world, which has sort of a limit. It's bound by the laws of nature, I suppose, in terms of just how much space there is on the earth. But in Decentraland, other virtual world platforms, there's not really that same limitation, but they've deliberately limited kind of the scope of the world so that space is sort of limited, and thus driving up the price of some bits of it might indeed make sense. So, this is actually kind of cool. I came upon this cool little theater. So, not much more to say there besides this space is really heating up. Anyone who's followed the value of the mana cryptocurrency over the past few months will know that ever since Facebook changed their name to Meta and has started really accelerating the metaverse hype, the value of the mana cryptocurrency has skyrocketed, and so has the value of other metaverse cryptocurrencies like Sand from Sandbox. And now there are like 10 other weird, like, spin-off, probably hoax ones that have come up from other projects that say they're going to soon exist, but don't. In the crypto space, always be wary, right? There are going to be a few like real, actual projects, and for every real one, there's going to be a dozen super scammy ones that are just trying to get you to invest in their shitcoin. So be warned. Okay. I want to look at another article now. This one's from the New York Times, and this is "The Metaverse is Coming and the World is Not Ready for It." Guest essay, the New York Times. First of all, it's just astonishing that this has become so mainstream that even the New York Times is just writing about it and having a lot to say about it. Now, this particular author, the general take is, look, there are going to be some good things about this and maybe some bad things about it, but the bulk of the piece is about all of the things we need to be worried about and all of the bad things. And I first just want to say that generally for the viewers of this channel, I'm not also just a perpetual cheerleader for all things metaverse, and every possible thing about the metaverse I don't think is necessarily a good thing either. I'm actually kind of skeptical and cynical at heart about like everything, including the metaverse. That said, I do have some issues with some of the things raised in this and some aspects of this piece. So first of all, I'm saying, look, there's already evidence that online multiplayer games can enable the spread of disinformation and conspiracy theories. Players can use in-game communication tools to disseminate rumors or fake news, targeting others in difficult-to-track ways. Could allow motivated regimes or extremist groups to go further. Immersive layers of text, voice, and visuals provide new, convincing ways to broadcast misleading or extremist content. And people can be pseudonymous, these avatars. You don't know who they are, blah, blah, blah. So this is interesting because none of these things seem unique to the metaverse to me. These are all things I could have encountered just when I went to McDonald's this morning. If I was driving in a car, you turn to a certain radio station and it's some QAnon crazy preaching at you about something or another. that's not me in the metaverse. That's me in my car taking a drive down the street. Depending on what store you go to, you look outside and there'll be posters on the wall from any number of people touting and shouting to the rooftop any number of weird ideologies. Go to twitter.com, where you also don't know who many of these people are. Of course, Twitter is overrun with bots spreading disinformation. So whether the metaverse is kind of unique in this way, I'm not sure I agree with. I think that, yes, the metaverse is another vector of interaction and information where, yes, people can see things and hear things, and yes, people will be trying to put things in front of you to influence the way that you think. But that's not unique and that's not new. It's happening all around us anyway, whether you step outside, whether you turn on the radio, whether you go on twitter.com. And whether the metaverse is somehow worse for all of this, I'm not sure about yet. Whether it's a stronger, a way that people could influence you in more stronger, deeper ways. I'm not convinced of that just yet. Now, the piece goes on. And again, like the bulk of the piece is like what we need to be worried about before it gets into like 2 paragraphs of what might actually be good about the metaverse, which is fine. So now let's get into how digital espionage has already been used by dozens of countries to gain access to all sorts of secrets. A metaverse that contains all sorts of info could be susceptible to breaches or manipulation. So this is true, but again, it's just not new. Tons of companies and services have been hacked over the past year. Things like Microsoft, things like, really you name it. The metaverse is digital and online, and to the extent that it is, people need to be careful about these issues. I don't think it's some new thing that we need to be particularly worried about with the metaverse. We just need to be more worried about it generally in our online identities and interactions. So it goes on, mentioning, look, a constellation of technologies, including hardware, computer networks, and payment tools, will support the metaverse's functionality. The countries that maintain control over them will have significant international leverage. China could control the metaverse's backbone thanks to its Digital Silk Road initiative. Taiwan, which dominates the semiconductor industry, will become even more of a linchpin on the global stage. This is a fair point. There is one very large company in Taiwan, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, that does manufacture quite a bit of this, of the chips required to power graphically intensive applications. All that said, we're currently in a crunch around this stuff, and everything digital is on the rise right now. People are buying more computers, people are buying more games, people are gaming more. All these things are contributing to this crunch in this technology and these strange aspects of the supply chain around them. In any case, the piece goes on saying, look, this is going to be radical. There are going to be communities in the metaverse that transcend borders and national identities. Instead of someone just identifying as like a U.S. citizen, maybe they'll identify as a particular citizen of a particular virtual world or metaverse. This article seems to be suggesting that that's a inherently bad thing, and I'm not exactly sure about that just yet. Excuse me. So, closes, the metaverse may have been born in science fiction, but it's up to us to write a future grounded in clear-eyed reality. So fair enough, but I was a bit concerned that so much of this piece was just about what we need to be worried about, with very little attention to some of the good aspects of it, the good aspects of what these worlds let us do, and new ways of interacting that they enable. All right, so that's about it for this week. I don't think each video is necessarily going to be this long, but this first diary of the metaverse was a bit longer because kind of introducing myself, introducing the channel. I can't wait to make my next one. I already have a bunch of really good topics. Sometimes we'll be looking at news, sometimes we'll be hopping in, just exploring different destinations and talking about them. Whatever we do, though, I think it's going to be fun. And yeah, I will see you next time.